So madly celebrating Barbara Marx Hubbard, madly celebrated evolution alive in person, right? As Barbara Marx Hubbard, this stunning vision of evolution. And there could be nothing that would make Barbara more ecstatic, right, than this book. And the way we meet Barbara is by showing up in our full selves and transcending, kind of the limits of our contraction. So it's very rare that we have a moment that we can actually make a kind of activist commitment to do something that actually directly creates the next step of community, right, as it radiates into the world. So this is a moment like that. So this is a moment where, right, each of us have this kind of fabulous, gorgeous, stunning, alive, scintillating, pulsating invitation to actually take this first principles and first values. And we're going to be launching, we're doing our second week, right, of launching this book. Okay, we're going to do the second week of launching this book. And our topic today is going to, we have two things we're going to do today. First, we're going to do a big Barbara Marx Hubbard celebration. And Barbara, right, I love you madly, my evolutionary partner and whole mate. So we're going to celebrate Barbara and hear from Barbara. And then part two is we're going to ask a question. And the question is, everybody ready? The question is, why does value matter? So that's what we want to talk about today. So today we're celebrating Barbara, and there's a very deep relationship between a person's birthday and the day that they passed, right? It's very deep, right? Barbara's birthday, she was actually born, I think, December 22nd, 1929. That's her birthday, right? Right? She passed, right, April 10th, 2019. Right? And I was at the bedside when she drew her last breath, right? April 19th, right? April 10th, 2019. That was just a bunch of years ago, right? 5 years ago. Is that 5 years ago, my friends? I can't quite believe that it's 5 years ago. 89 unimaginable years. And the day of my birth and the day of my death, right? This is this portal into the world and this portal out of the world. And this sacred and wondrous time that are so deeply related. Right? David, the master of the lineage, dies and is born on the same day. It's a special privilege. So I want to celebrate Barbara. And Barbara made a decision. And her decision was, and I just want to share this with everyone, her decision was her, I would say it's her last huge creative decision was to say yes to this invitation, issued by reality itself, to actually start this evolutionary church, to start this one mountain, many paths. And I remember calling Barbara, right, and talking to her about this. And her first response was, a church? Religion? And then we went so deep into it together. And we realized this was the only thing that could be done. It's what needed to be done. Right. And we stepped into it together with Lisa, who did a wonderful job and with great competence and presence. And Barbara and I together as evolutionary wholemates, we kind of launched this adventure, and we're on week 392? Are we on week 392? We've done consistently, right, 392. And what's the purpose? Why do we have an evolutionary church, which we in the end named One Mountain, Many Paths? We have it in order to actually realize that value is real. And I would say, and I want to be like it's deep. This is deep, my friends. I want to get really, okay, can we do something like crazy deep for a second? I would say that the most exciting dimension of the last 5 years of Barbara's life was actually the realization that value is real. And it's a very big deal. There's many people kind of in Barbara's world who kind of told her, she would tell me all the time, people in her family and people around her, hang up your cleats. Cleats is a word from soccer, right? Hang up your jersey, right? We would call it, right? Like you're done, right? You're 82, you're 83. You've done so much. You've been the great storyteller of conscious evolution, right? You've started SynCons, which were these, wonderful conferences, right, which were designed to bring this vision of conscious evolution into the world, right? You've been the great evangelist, right, of conscious evolution, right? You gave a speech at the Democratic National Convention in 1984 where you were a symbolic candidate for vice president, right? You conceived this vision of the Office for the Future. And we started the Office of the Future in the end together. And the Office for the Future is now kind of the holding vision of the think tank. And everything in the think tank, the One Mountain, Many Paths, and the think tank, the Center for World Philosophy and Religion, and the Foundation for Conscious Evolution, which we're actually gonna finally do its big relaunch right in the early fall. And all of that's under the Office of the Future. So Barbara, you conceived this vision of the Office of the Future. You did such a great job. So everyone told you hang up your cleats. Why didn't Barbara hang up her cleats? Why didn't you just say, I'm done? It's not just that, right? Okay, and it's her people around her. She's impulsive. She can't stop. No, it wasn't that at all. It wasn't this inability to stop. It wasn't an impulsiveness. It wasn't a desire to stay relevant in some way. It's that actually Barbara wasn't getting older. Barbara was getting newer. That was Barbara's actual experience. And it wasn't just an existential experience. What actually happened is Barbara stepped into, together with me, we did it together. She stepped into this deeper world, which took her understanding of reality to the next level. And it completely changed the way she understood conscious evolution. We re-understood, we revisioned conscious evolution together. And I want to get this, it's a very big deal. We literally revisioned conscious evolution. The way Barbara had always taught conscious evolution is evolution by choice, not by chance. Everyone get that? Evolution by choice, not by chance. There's 1,000 talks of Barbara online kind of saying that. But that's actually, we went deeper. Evolution was never by chance, right? It was never by chance. Evolution is always a result. Now stay very close, my friends, right? Are we together? I'm going to check it on the chat box. This is so deep. It's so beautiful. It's so crazy. And Barbara would be so ecstatic. So are we together? Are we ready? Are we ready to participate in the evolution of love? Are we ready to tell the next chapter in the story? Are we ready to write into the source code and to actually participate in the evolution of love? Are we ready to play a larger game? Are we ready to become conscious evolution and to actually evolve what conscious evolution actually means? Okay, so let's do it. Who's ready? Who's ready? Give me a couple of 10 more yeses. 10 more yeses so we just can feel each other. We're alive. We can touch each other. We're in the space together. We're talking to each other. We're in this holy conversation. So it's very beautiful. It's very wild. Evolution's never by chance, and evolution has full freedom. And so conscious evolution is not, oh, evolution was a chance process. Now the human being is awakened. Now it's not a chance process because we're in the age of the Anthropocene, human, right? The human's at the center. So what we do determines the future. That's conscious evolution. That's how Barbara taught conscious evolution. That's why the way it was taught, right, all over the world. And it's a powerful realization. And it's true, but it's extremely partial, right? Because it's not true that evolution used to be by chance. Evolution was actually something far more beautiful. And then the move to conscious evolution is therefore a different move. So what was evolution? So I'm just going to give you an example. I won't mention their name because my dear friend, I'm doing with a dear, young person whose name I shall not say, nor shall I even allude to their gender, right, to protect their identity. Because they actually, we started a deep process of study, and they wanted to kind of 6 months, to kind of be in the study together before they shared that they were studying, with the controversial Mark Goffney. Okay, so I said, of course, right? So I was doing Holy of Holies with this person who's kind of new. In the last couple of years, we've gotten to know each other. There's a lovely, lovely young person. And we did this, it was last Saturday, and we did this very deep dive, very beautiful. It was graced by Goddess, right? Every step of it. And we said at the end, And many of us together who do Holy of Holies, right? We study together and these kind of deep dives can attest to the exact same experience. That at the end of the Holy of Holies, at the end of our hour of study together, we looked back and we said, wow, if we get a transcript, right? If we get a transcript of what we just talked about in the last hour, we will see that everything we just talked about is in perfect synchronicity, in perfect symmetry, right? In perfect design, right, everyone? So if you would look at our Holy of Holies, right, that I did, right, with this gentleman last week, but that many of us have done together, you would actually see, stay close, you would see, if you would read the transcript, you would see it was perfectly designed. And yet, we didn't spend even 1 minute designing it. And had we tried to design it, it would have taken us like 4 years, right, to design every moment in it. Does that make sense, everyone? Why? Why? It's beautiful. Why? Because what designed it was first principles and first values. And it's the first principles and first values that we were operating within, which were the fundament, right? The basic structure, the grammar of a universal grammar of value. And we shared between us that grammar of value, right? This desire to participate in the evolution of love, this knowing that love and eros is real, right? In other words, right, a whole set of understandings of shared space between us that were rooted in two things. One, the shared set of first principles and first values, and this realization that the values themselves are real. These are real values. These are not arbitrary. So we're in some sense invited by, defined by, animated by, not constrained in a negative sense, but more like directed by or allured by the shared set of first principles and first values. So we're looking together in the same direction, right? We're not just soulmates looking at each other's eyes in Holy of Holies, we're homemates. We're looking at a shared direction. And because we're looking at a shared direction, animated and allured and invested and suffused with these shared first principles and first values, so it emerges from that 60 minutes last Saturday that I'm referring to was the most elegant design you could possibly imagine and completely spontaneous, completely contingent, radically new, radically novel, radically emergent, meaning it wasn't, now stay close, it's gorgeous, it's not the old pre-modern religious position in which God is sitting and saying, okay, do this and do that and do that, and it's all preordained and eternal, and there's no freedom and there's no emergence. It's all, we're just playing out a pre-written script. That clearly is not the interior nature of evolution. At the same time, it's not a postmodern deconstructive world, which is purely materialist, and evolution is a process of pure reductive materialist mechanics that's utterly chance and random. No, evolution's not by chance. It was never by chance. Evolution's an expression of the precise synergy. Does everyone get this? How beautiful it is? It's the synergy of radical intention, telos, right? Telos, direction. And the direction is the plot lines of cosmos. And the plot lines of cosmos are first principles and first values that are real and complete freedom, complete openness, complete new possibility, complete emergence, complete novelty, right? Evolution is the creative advance of novelty animated by first principles and first values that are real. Wow, it's huge, okay? So now we begin to understand what conscious evolution is. So conscious evolution is not the move from evolution by chance to evolution by choice. No, conscious evolution is the move from the inherent values of evolution operating in the evolutionary process, like eros being real, and like evolution reaching for ever deeper intimacy, and like freedom, right? And like personhood, and like uniqueness, and like transformation, right? And like creativity, right? These are all dimensions. These are first principles and first values of evolution that are real, that evolve. So conscious evolution means that the value of the values, the first principles, let me say it again. Conscious evolution means that the first principles and first values of reality come alive in me and in we, and we are now aware that we are first principles and first values in person. Whoa! Conscious evolution means we participate in the evolutionary process. We become aware we are first principles and first values in person. Conscious evolution means I realize I am the evolutionary impulse animated by design principles, plot lines called first principles and first values in person. So I am an irreducibly unique incarnation of the plot lines of the cosmos. Whoa, that's exciting. Because what that means is I'm not just making up value. Value's real. And Barbara's crazy delight was this realization, oh, everything I'd done up to now in my life was perfect. And now we can take it the next level and realize that evolution actually is mystery. And often we don't understand, but it's mystery within the context of an intimate universe in which intimacy itself is a value, and it's reaching towards ever greater wholeness, and wholeness is value. It's reaching towards ever greater value, and value is real. Okay? Wow. That's conscious evolution. So conscious evolution is the movement from levels of unconscious value, right? In which value is operating inherently, right? At lower levels, I wouldn't say lower levels, more foundational or beginning levels. Let's say it a little better. Let me say it a little better. Okay. So let me say it a little better. So the values of cosmos at cosmos's foundational levels, let's call it the lower levels, the world of matter. So in the world of matter, you have this eros and allurement between subatomic particles that creates a new intimacy, a new wholeness, a new value called an atom. Wow. But that same intimacy evolves. It gets deeper, it gets wider, it gets thicker, right? And so the intimacy between us, between beloveds today, or between participants in the unique self symphony and the intimate communion of the unique self symphony with a shared vision, right, participates in a wider and deeper degree of freedom and a more conscious sense of uniqueness and a more radical creativity and a more profound sense of choice than exists between subatomic particles. But subatomic particles, or early plants or early fish, or early animals and then early mammals, right? All of the values of cosmos are at play all the way up and almost all the way down the evolutionary chain, but it becomes more and more conscious, more and more awake, right? It becomes more and more awake in us, to be more precise. In other words, the entire process of evolution is self-evidently intelligent and conscious, right? A non-intelligent and non-conscious process does not generate mitosis and meiosis before there's a human neocortex, right? It doesn't generate, said better, photosynthesis before there's a human neocortex, right? The process of photosynthesis, which is shockingly, dazzlingly complex, we've barely begun to get a glimmer of even vaguely understanding it, all takes place billions of years before there's a human frontal lobe or neocortex. That doesn't happen from an unintelligent mechanical accident. And that's got nothing to do with fundamentalist adoptions, right, of intelligent design. Intelligent design is wrong in the sense that it often, although not always, but often denies that there's an inherent process of creativity that's constantly evolving. So there's many versions of inherent design of intelligent design that deny that, right? And that's a mistake. So, but there's not intelligent design in a kind of fundamentalist sense, but there's an inherent consciousness and intelligence, right, that inheres in reality that contains what we might call design principles. DNA is a code. A code has design principles. Design principles come from there's no design principles ever in a code that don't come from a kind of inherent intelligence and consciousness. right? So conscious evolution evolved. So Barbara and I did together that was our wild excitement. It wasn't Barbara was kind of like, let's play it again, Sam. And it was sad to Barbara. She talked to me about it, not figuratively, but literally every day. It was sad to Barbara that her family didn't get it. Just didn't get it. Like, what are you doing? Hang it up, Mom. Right? Her friends over the years, what are you doing? You've done it already. Or you've achieved victory. Declare. This is what she would tell me. She would call me every day and she would say, this person or that person would say to her, Barbara, declare victory and go home. No, but Barbara was not getting older. She was getting newer. Her phrase. And she was madly excited to be alive as an evolutionary wholemate. Right? It's like, wow. And she knew what evolutionary family meant. And she was madly committed to every single person who's here today and to the existence of One Mountain, Many Paths and to its unfolding in the world. And she knew lots of you and many of the people she didn't, of course, get to meet, but you're in her space. You're in her bosom now. You're in her embrace. Is that fair, Barbara? Is that fair, love? Right, that's fair. Okay, so madly celebrating Barbara Marx Hubbard. Madly celebrated evolution alive in person, right? As Barbara Marx Hubbard, this stunning vision of evolution. And there could be nothing that would make Barbara more ecstatic, right, than this book. And the way we meet Barbara is by showing up in our full selves and transcending, kind of the limits of our contraction, because everyone has reasons to contract, the limits of our collapse. Barbara transcended every day the limits of her collapse. Right? And it's not that we can always do it, but we can do it a lot more than we think. Okay. And we actually step in and all of a sudden we're filled with power. All of a sudden we're filled with joy. Right? All of a sudden we're filled with this realization, I am conscious evolution in person. And so wildly celebrating Barbara Marx Hubbard. We're going to see a little clip now. This is a tradition we do every year, right? On the anniversary of Barbara's passing. It's both her birthday and the day of her death, right? It's her birthday into the next world. Right. And in the lineages, birthday and the day of death are the same. We call them the same thing. They're actually called, right, by a name that indicates both being born and passing. You're being born into the next world, right? And you're passing, and they're happening together. So if you can take us inside, my friends, right? I mean, it's just insanely wonderful and gorgeous and stunning. We're just going to spend just 3 minutes. And we're going to kind of feel into the space and it's about 3.5 minutes. We'll feel into Barbara Marx Hubbard.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the red garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world.
Oh my God, Barbara, we miss you, love. We miss you. I miss Barbara every day, right? I miss Barbara every day. If we can just into the chat box, just to Barbara, I love you and thank you for being our beloved, and thank you for being my homemate, and thank you for being all of our homemates, and thank you for being with us, and thank you for everything. Just like a huge mad, and Barbara, this is your home. This is your home, right? And I want to just share with everyone. And this is a commitment that it's taken us a while to fulfill for a whole bunch of reasons. And anyone wants to step in and help, right? There's some texts that need to be done. I've got to do a piece of it, but we're going to be launching a new version of the Foundation for Conscious Evolution website. I believe we'll launch it by September, right? And we're launching it to coincide, and this is great and big and fabulous and gorgeous news, the emergence of 2 books that Barbara and I did a lot of conversation and deep dives into before she died. And I promised her I would get a series of books out together with her. And the first one's going to come out, and it's on Rollmate to Soulmate to Wholemate. And how many, who's been here long enough to have heard Barbara and I talk together about joining genes and not joining genius, which was Barbara's phrase, and my move of Rollmate to Soulmate to Wholemate, which was, the way I talked about it, and kind of talking about that together. How many people actually directly heard Barbara and I talk about that? We talked about it all the time. It was like a huge topic and a beautiful and gorgeous and stunning. And so we're finally getting out a book. So just listen to this, everybody. It's the first volume is 200,000 words. And Paul and Carol did, like Clint Fuse first did this incredible work, first round of editing. After I wrote the first draft, Barbara and I talked a lot. The first draft was written actually back 2016. And then we talked about it more. Barbara did another version and played with it, right? Or played with the text. And then Barbara passed. And then at a certain point, Paul and Carol stepped in and did a big piece of work with it, which is fantastic. And then, with the particularly, right, Kirsten Zohar stepped in and did a piece of work with it. And then it passed to Elena, who did an important, piece of work with it, and everyone's work was important, each kind of contributing and part of. And at the same time, I wrote another 50, 60, 70, 80,000 words, and it became essentially 2 volumes, this 2 beautiful volumes. So Barbara's about to put, 2 major works into the world, which is crazy exciting, wildly exciting, and that's like beyond imagination good. And it's just a beginning, right? There's a series of works that will be part of the great library that Barbara and I will be putting out. She actually very beautifully with our lawyer in her last will and testament actually we explicated this series of books that we're committed to. So this is finally happening, and it's been a long road, and we're going to be publishing, my guess is in the summer, somewhere in so as we publish that new book, we'll put up the new website, which is like wildly exciting and wildly good and wildly crazy.